All right, all right, all right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another live stream. Today, we are. What's the name of this stream? What's the name? What did I name the stream today? Trap, right? Something about trap. What? Anyways, yeah, look, welcome back to the channel. This is episode number 12. The biggest crypto trap is playing out right in front of you. This is a trap right here. This is a trap right here. This is not what many of you guys think it is. This is a big trap right here, guys. Right here, this is a big trap. The reason this is a big trap is what we are going to get into. We will also talk about the current pullback across the altcoin market. Is Jasmine up again? Did I? Oh, wow. We will also talk about the current pullback in the altcoin market. Yeah, this is what a move. Oh my gosh. We will also talk about the current pullback in the altcoin market. We'll talk about potential price targets if things continues to go up. We'll talk about major resistance. I actually think many of these altcoins are already topping or are closer to topping. We'll talk about Zcash. I believe I saw something about the devs quitting. All right. I think they lost 80% of devs of their devs, which it wouldn't be good for the project, but those are fundamental stuff. I'm not interested in fundamentals. I'm only interested in technical analysis. So we'll talk about, look, personally, I think this is the top, and, you're looking at a big drop down into the $100 range. That is my outlook on Zcash. I think this is a lower high that has been completed. But of course, the confirmation comes in once price goes below $305, I believe. So we'll talk about Zcash. We'll talk about my outlook on it. And if you guys have some projects that you would like me to, speaking of projects, actually, in the equity market, I'm gonna share a trade with you guys. MicroStrategy. This is an amazing opportunity. We have some bullish divergency on this daily, and I think this is the time. I think this is the time right here. I do think we are going to see a big move from here on. So I'm very bullish on strategy. We'll talk about some price targets and other stuff. But once again, welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time right here, I am going to ask that you consider subscribing. All right, hit that subscribe button. If you have already subscribed but you're watching, just make sure you hit the like button. Algorithm. I wouldn't be asking if it wasn't that important. But once again, welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are having an amazing week. And without wasting time, let's jump straight to the point. Let's talk about this market that we all love. All right. So where do we start? Okay. All right, let's start right here. So today's conversation is going to focus on this is one of the biggest trap that is playing out in this market. Many of you guys are looking at Bitcoin. Bitcoin is back in the $90,000 range, and you are already talking about new all-time highs. I don't believe that we have a setup that takes the price of Bitcoin to new all-time highs. I don't believe that for a second. What I believe is happening right now is what we call a day cap bounce, is what we call a relief rally. So a relief rally or a day cap bounce is not a beginning of a major move that is sustainable for multiple weeks and multiple months. And this is not the beginning of a new all-time highs. This is a trap. Right? This is a trap, and we will talk about that. If you zoom out and you go to the weekly, and I will come back to the daily. If you zoom out and you go to the weekly, to me, this right here is a Bitcoin that is working on a weekly lower high. Right? This is a Bitcoin that is working on a weekly lower high. This is the first time we are going to have a weekly lower high since, since the last since the last major pullback. The last major pullback was right here. This was the last major pullback. This to me was a lower high. This was another lower high right here. But this lower high is going to be so much different from these two right here. This one is going to be very similar to this one right here. This lower high is going to be very similar to this one. And this is going to be the beginning of a sustainable downtrend on this weekly time frame. Something that we haven't seen since the last bear market, which, you got to go back to 2022. So to me, this is a trap right here. All right? Big T right here, guys. This is the big T right here. This is a big trap right here. And if you're not careful, you are going to get your head blown out. All right? If you are not careful, you are going to get your head blown out. Now, could I be wrong? Absolutely. All right? I can absolutely be wrong. This could potentially be the beginning of a brand new bull market. But I don't believe it until I'm proven. All right? I do not believe this is the beginning of a new all-time high until Bitcoin proves to me. And how does Bitcoin prove to me? We got to get above $126,000. That is the only way BTC proves to me that this is indeed the beginning of a major move and, new all-time highs. All right? If I'm looking at this Bitcoin weekly setup right here, to me, this has every makeup of what a bear flag looks like. If you watch my streams, if you watch my updates, if you watch my Bitcoin breakdown, we talked about a bear flag pattern. It looks exactly like this, right? It is a flag that is bearish. So if you look at a bear flag pattern, it looks exactly like what Bitcoin is looking like at the moment. You have higher highs and higher lows. But when you look at the makeup of it, all right, it's exactly what we have right here on the daily. And this is why I am predicting that we're looking at a Bitcoin that will potentially retest $96,000. We're looking at a Bitcoin that will more likely retest $96,000. Now, you may ask, well, we got to 94,000 and then we drop back below 90,000. Of course, guys, $94,000 is a major, major resistance. All right, the last 3 times Bitcoin had a big rally on the daily, we got rejected exactly at 94,000. So why would you think this is going to be any different? Remember, we talked about resistance. When the price is at a resistance, you have to be respectful of the resistance and you have to assume you are or we are or price is going to get rejected. Right? That should be your primary focus. Reject it. And when price is at a support, you have to assume that the support is going to do exactly what the support is meant to do, and that is provide support. So price is more likely to bounce. So does that mean that since we got rejected at 94,000, we're no longer looking at a $96,000 Bitcoin? Absolutely not. Now, that is not what it means. What it means is $94,000 is a major resistance range level. So a price gets rejected. Now we have a pullback. We could potentially put in some higher lows, and then we could potentially go up, break above $94,000, and go to the $96,000, $98,000 target that we talked about. All right. Right now, target still is $96,000 until proven otherwise, and the only way is, price comes all the way down here to retest around $87,000. But once again, focusing, keeping our focus on the trap. This is the biggest trap right here. This is not what many of you guys may think it is. This is not a Bitcoin that is going back to its all-time high. Could it go back to all-time highs? 100%. But the makeup of what we have right here, the makeup of this entire consolidation range, looks exactly like what a bear flag looks like. And the bear flag is not a bullish pattern. Right? Could this turn out to not be a bear flag? Of course. Right? Someone else may look at Bitcoin and the current range, and they may come up with a different pattern. They may think, actually, instead of this being a bear flag, this is a totally complete different pattern. I respect that. But if I'm looking at this, to me, this has every single makeup of this right here. 100%. 100%. So when you go back to the weekly, one of the things that we talked about was that in a downtrend, in a bear market, price will come back to retest the 21 weekly moving average. The 21 weekly right now is $98,000. Chad, remember just a couple of days ago, the 21 weekly was at $103,000. And then it got to 102,000, 100,000, 99. Now we are at $98,000. So very close to my $96,000 target. If we are going to retest 96,000, we could potentially meet the 21 weekly moving average at $96,000. But we don't have to. But it's something worth looking at. And in every single bear market, we have seen Bitcoin come back to its 21 weekly. And once again, a trap, because many influencers out there, many of you guys are believing and were believing back in those days the BTC was making a comeback, only to end up disappointed and only to end up with a major crash. And this is why, when you go to my YouTube and you look at my long-term BTC updates, this is why I continue to say that they are lying to you. This is not what you think it is. Right? I'm not certain. I'm just based on, I'm just basing this on probabilities and just basing this on past performance, similar behavior, repetition, and, things of that nature. But you got to be careful out there. And this is why when BTC was at $94,000, you guys may remember in my recent updates, I said, hey, this is not the time to be a buyer. The time to buy BTC was right here in this $85,000, $87,000 range. when Bitcoin was very close to a support. Bitcoin closer to a resistance. What are you thinking about? What is your game plan? What is your exit strategy? If you jumped in at 94,000, the question is, are you still holding? Did you panic sold during this pullback? That is why you have to be extremely cautious. So anyways, this is one of, if not the biggest trap that probably we are going to experience throughout 2026. And you got to be careful. I do want to spend some time and talk about altcoins because when it comes to being trapped by this market, I feel sorry for most of you guys, because if you don't have the right guidance, if you don't have the right approach, if you don't have a plan, look, you got to have a plan first and foremost. If you don't have a plan, you are planning on failing. But I do feel sorry for investors out there, because if you are on YouTube, if you are on social media, recent positive price action across the altcoin market, now you got everyone talking about how these projects are going to do such and such. But I'm here to give you a reality check. All right. And once again, I could be wrong, because, this is technical analysis. I don't know exactly what the market is going to do. Nobody knows exactly what the market is going to do. Nobody has a crystal ball. I do not have a crystal ball. But, just looking at technical analysis, looking at most of these altcoins, the funny thing is, what is happening right now is exactly what I talked about many times in my previous updates. When the altcoin market was dumping and many alts were down a good chunk, 80, 90, 70%, I said, yes, price is down. Yes, these altcoins, blah, blah, blah. But there is going to be a bear market rally, because there is always going to be one. This time is not an exception. All right, this time is no different. There is always going to be bear market rallies. So what you have right now is a bear market rally. It is not the beginning of some sort of an altcoin season. You got to be careful out there. Be careful who you listen to, because the wrong investment, you are going to be a bag holder. And trust me, there's many bag holders out there. Even though market is up, people are still underwater. People are still underwater, guys, in those terrible investments in the altcoin market. So you got projects like Jasmy, probably up almost 100%. You got projects like XCN. I do want to talk about XCN, actually. Let me spend some time on XCN and Jasmy, because this one, I know many of you guys are going to get hurt. I know many out there are going to get hurt. And people are already hurting because their average is way above current price. And you still have people who are bag holders. So let me start with XCN. XCN, if you're looking at the most recent pump, it's gone up about 200%, maybe more. But I promise you, this is going to be a disaster if you are a buyer right now with the belief that this is the beginning of, some sort of a crazy bull market. This is going to end in tears. You are going to be a bag holder for a very, very long period of time. Could I be wrong? Absolutely yes. Could this be the beginning of a major XCN bull market? Absolutely yes. But now when the setup is like this, I promise you, unless out of nowhere, someone out there decides, let me send the price to the moon. And we've seen that before. And I know some of you guys, you may start making an argument that, wait a minute, look at this right here. Chat, I'm going to show you the difference between this right here and this right here. Very simple, without any complications, without, trying to complicate stuff. We are going to simplify. This is not a long-term bullish setup. No, this is a short-term bullish setup. This is only bullish when you go down to like maybe the 4 hour, exactly the 4 hour time frame. This is only bullish when you go down to the 1 hour. But the moment you zoom out, where it actually matters in terms of sustainability, the moment you zoom out, this is trash. The moment you zoom out and you go to the monthly, even worse. So I am not a hater. I'm just someone that's looking at this market and that is exposing, all right, those who are pushing this in your face and are already talking about, how this is going to 10x, 20x. Yo, I've seen targets. I've seen 10 cents. I've seen 20 cents. Chat, this is not going to any of those targets. Look, I'm okay if you are predicting those targets, but when the chart is actually bullish long term, I'm perfectly fine with that. But when the chart looks like this on the monthly and the weekly, those targets, have fun with that. Absolutely fine with me. But there's got to be a balance. There's got to be some of us who are looking at this market and realistically are calling it exactly as it is. This is not something that we haven't seen from XEN. XEN going up 200%, but the move wasn't sustainable. This is not the first time. You go back to a couple months ago, we had a big move. Maybe not as big as this one. This was a 30% move. You go back before this one, there's another one right here. And again, maybe not as big as the one we have right now. This is a 67% move. You go back, and then you get another one right here. This is almost a 300% move. So what we have right here, this 200% move, this is not something that we haven't already seen. And I'm telling you right now, give us some time, because this is not the first time I'm exposing the lies. This is not the first time where I do exactly this. Look, I did this back here. I did this back here. I did this back here. Like I said when the price was pumping, hey, this is not sustainable. And we are going down. I just can't prove it to you guys because I don't have access to that channel anymore. All right. But if you are someone who used to consume our content, you know that this is a project I was talking about in terms of how bearish he was when price was going up 100%. Yo, in the short term, if you have a position and that position is up a good 50, 100%, that was an amazing trade. That is exactly what you are here to do. But if you are making a mistake that this is not a short-term trade and this is a long-term type of investment, and you are going to hold on to that investment for the next 6 to 12 months, I'm telling you right now, you are more likely going to be a bag holder. So let's talk about why this is not what you actually think it is. And look, I'm willing to go analysis for analysis with anyone who thinks this is the beginning of some sort of an incredible long-term sustainable bull market. First of all, once again, trying to simplify things, the price is below the 21 weekly moving average. I'm going to be very honest with you guys. Nothing positive, sustainably, of course, is going to come out of this project as long as the price is sustainably below the 21 weekly moving average. And I'm telling you right now, most likely we have already topped if we are not very close to the top. Most likely the top is already in. All right, already hit major resistance. This range, definitely a lot of resistance right here. So, in my opinion, the fact that we have already hit a 21 weekly, the fact that we have already hit these resistance right here, this makes me believe or come to the conclusion that most likely we are topping, have already topped, or very, very near to the top. That will be my assessment. But the number one is nothing sustainable bullish is going to come out of a project that is trading below its 21 weekly moving average. So that is a reason for me. I mean, honestly, the only reason, if I gotta, even if if I have to be 100% with you guys, that alone is my 100% reason to not get anywhere closer to this project in terms of long-term sustainability, in an uptrend. Let's talk about structures. All right. If you go from this bull market top, which was right here, around 4 cents, and you look at every single move, all right, every single move, we have put in a weekly lower high. This was our first weekly lower high. You can say this was our second weekly lower high. All right. This was our third weekly lower high. Here we have another one, if you want to call this one another weekly lower high. And this one, I'm telling you right now, this one is also going to be our fifth weekly lower high. So structurally, this is not a project that is in any sort of long-term bullish structure. That is reason number two why this is not going to carry on. Let's talk about reason number three. Shall I go on? Reason number three, we can use a different indicator. We can, play with different indicators. The Bollinger Bands right here. All right, we can go with the super trend. We can go with the MACD. We can go with the RSI. All right, if I'm looking at RSI on the weekly, the RSI has been able to break into a bullish territory, which is very positive. But I don't think this is going to be sustainable. If I'm looking at my MACD right here, I want you to take a look at where the MACD is. The MACD is still in a bearish territory. If you want to know what the MACD and RSI will look like when the project has established a long-term sustainable uptrend, they are all going to line up. When the RSI is above the 50 line, you are going to have your MACD also above the 0 line. Above the 50 line is a bullish territory when it comes to the RSI. Above the 0 line is a bullish territory when it comes to the MACD. I'll show you some examples. Look, the last time we had this incredible bullish pump, this was the MACD well above its 0 line. This was the RSI well above the 0 line, well above the 50 line. And that is, when you look at the result, this is where price goes from, wherever, all the way up to around 4 cents. All right. But also notice the price was already above the 21 weekly moving average. Notice the price was not below the 21 weekly moving average. So even if I'm just going based on the RSI, based on MACD, I can't spell, but you gotta, just be with me. And based on the 21 weekly EMA, even if I'm just basing my analysis on this, what I'm looking for is, all right, has the RSI broke above the 50 line? Okay, this is a check right here. Has the MACD broke above the 0 line? This is X right here. Has the price broke above the 21 weekly moving average? You can say this is a check right here. But you need to make sure you have a check mark in all three, not just the two of them. And this, even though price has actually broke above the 21 weekly moving average, guess what, guys? We haven't closed this weekly candle. We still got about, what's the date today? Today's what, Thursday? Yeah, so we got about 3 more days left until we get a weekly close. So probably by the time we close this weekly, price maybe comes back to around here or somewhere even down. Like, we don't know where this is going to close because, we still got We still got 3 days to go. So, anyways, look, I can go on, but I don't want to spend 20 minutes, 40 minutes talk about why this is not a bullish trend that is going to be sustainable long term. If I'm looking at XCN, this is the time to get out. This is the time to get out. You look at daily RSI, look, already extremely overbought. This is not buy. No, this is get out, get out, get out. All right? You go to the 4-hour time frame. This is not something that you want to jump in. Now, look, maybe you can trade another, if there's another setup and then price comes back to, 1 cent, that could potentially be a trade maybe. This is like almost a 40% move. Just put your stop loss, probably below the 21 moving average on the 4-hour time frame. You can take advantage of some short-term trade, but you have to treat it as a short-term trade, not some sort of a long-term investment. So those out there who are screaming, get in, I promise you, most of them, their average price is somewhere around here. So they are already down. How much are they down right now? That person is down about 50%. They are praying. They're out there praying that the price goes all the way up here so they can break even and get out. These are not investors that are thinking about, price will go up and I will stay in my position. No, this is, please go back to my average price so I can get out. Because it's been way, way too long. I've suffered way more than enough throughout the last couple of months. And instead of me taking a loss, I want to break even. This is the type of investors that you have right now. Some of them, their average price is way, way up here. Because guess what? When price was going up, and this was the most popular project to cover on YouTube and on X, when he was up 2,000%, you have buyers come in right here. How do you think those that got in early were able to exit? Because someone provided equality. So these are the guys that are looking at this, and they are trying to convince themselves, and of course they are trying to get more people on board, that this is the beginning of some incredible, long-term uptrend. But I promise you, give it a rest. Give it some time. See how it plays out. Remember, I can be wrong because this is technical analysis. But in my eyes, and when I'm looking at this right here, the beauty of technical analysis is that we are all looking at the same data. Now, our interpretation, of course, is different, but the data is the same. My eyes tells me that this is not something that looks good long term. The same way when I was looking at this, and trust me, when he goes up 200% and you go against the grain and you talk about how it doesn't look good long term, it's not a good feeling because there's always doubt. I have doubts as well, guys. But my eyes tells me this is not looking good long term. Short term, congratulations. A very good trade. But the only way to catch a trade like this, it's not on the weekly. No, it is on the 4-hour time frame. It is on, the 1 hour. So I'll give you an example. Look, if I was looking at XCN, which I wasn't, I promise you, the moment we got this right here, this bottom right here after this drop, and then we got bottom right here, then especially once you break out, all right, I would have flipped bullish. Now, maybe I wouldn't have predicted that he was going to do a 200% move. All right, maybe I would have if I would have, based my target on the 221 weekly moving average. Maybe I would have had an estimate of a 120% price increase. But maybe if I would have jumped into a trade, I wouldn't have waited for a move that's greater than 100% because I wouldn't have thought it was going to do that. But this is where the trade is. So the same way this 4-hour time frame was able to establish a bullish structure and was able to break out, and we ended up with a 200% move. If you are going to see a sustainable weekly trend, the same process is got to take place on the weekly, guys. It doesn't right away just play out. It has to take place, the same process. So guess what? The last time we had this 3,000% move, the same process took place on the weekly. At first, we had a breakout right here. Let me show you how long this process took. Look, at first, June 2023, the bottom was in, and then we go sideways. And then we finally get a breakout. And then we finally get a retest. We get another breakout right here. We get another retest. And then we go sideways. And then we finally get the 3,000% move. I'm not saying you get exactly this process and how long this took. Because with this one, it took us from let me show you how long this took. It took us from May of 2023 until December of 2024. Yo, Chad, this is 550 days. The same process taking place on the weekly. And again, not saying that this is exactly what will play out, but lengthwise, you're looking at a very long period of time. Let's say maybe not 550 days. Maybe we got half of that. Let's just say 270 days. All right, for the sake of keeping things very simple. 270 days, you're looking at September 2026. You are looking at September 2026. What that means is the price of XCN will have to go up, all right, on the weekly right here. And then we'll have to get a pullback. The pullback maybe will come all the way back to retest the lows right here, or we put in a weekly higher low. And then price may go up again. Then you might get a pullback, and then you might get the real move. All right. This is the process right here, guys. It doesn't play out overnight. That is a higher time frame. Right. This is not your 4 hour. This is not your 1 hour. Even when you think about the 4 hour time frame, just look at these process right here. Well, look at the process of, hey, I have finally bottomed. Now I'm going sideways, and then I will get the breakout. Look, this is 12 days right here. Remember, we're talking about 4 hours. This is a 4 hour time frame. All right, every single candle is 4 hours. It took 12, 13 days. When we talk about the weekly, every single candle is an entire week. When you get 4, that's an entire month. When you get, all right, so you got to be patient. Anyways, man, I didn't want to spend too much time talking about XCN, but I thought, somebody's got to do it. I think XCN, Jasmy, I do want to talk about Jasmy too for a minute. I won't spend, 20 minutes on Jasmy. Probably like a few seconds. But anyways, Jasmy, XCN, in my opinion, most likely we have already topped if we are not closer to the top of the move. Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. For any of you guys who are just tuning in right now, if this is your first time, once again, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you like in the video. Like. Even if you're not like what you're hearing. Once again, someone's got to do it. All right, you need people like me. You need people like yourself who are very honest. And we don't have any agenda. And we look this market and call it exactly what it is. All right, we are going to be wrong. Nobody's going to be right all the time. Absolutely not, guys. In trading or in investing, sometimes you only right about 40% of the time. But that 40% of the time that you right, you make money from the market. The 60% that you're wrong, as long as you manage your risk, you go out with a profit. Oh my gosh. What do we have? I'm sure you mentioned this previously. However, I haven't heard it in your previous streams. But what was the reason YouTube remove your previous channel? Honestly, let me show you what I got, so you guys don't think I'm lying to you. I was removed from YouTube because I violated some sort of, let me go to my old YouTube account. There was no explanation. No explanation was given. I guess I violated I guess I had harmful and dangerous content. I don't even know what that means, to be honest with you. They're not very specific. So this is all I got. And then the channel was gone. They were not very specific. I tried to reach out and talk to someone. I was not successful. And I'm just trying, different tactics to see if I can get the channel back. But this is all I got. Like, as far as communication goes, this is all I got, honestly. All right. Taking a careful look at my channel and confirmed, it violated some of their, harmful and dangerous content policy. I don't even know what that is. I don't know what that means because there was no explanation. So right now, what I'm doing is, and I'm asking you guys if you can please, if you go to X, if you can tag YouTube in my post. I'm trying to see if enough of us can make some noise. Maybe I can get it back, because what I've seen so far is some creators with, much more subscribers than me, 50, 100 subscribers, whose YouTube was taken down, they were able to get it back because on X, they were able to make enough noise. YouTube, looked into their stuff and they got their channel back. So I'm asking you guys if you can do the same. I'm tagging YouTube. I'm posting a lot. I'm asking YouTube. And hopefully I do get my channel back. But if I don't, I'm going to try to continue to grow this. But I'm basically doing exactly what I did with my old one. So part of me thinks, even this one, I might lose it at some point. So it's one of those things where it's out of my reach. Like, I don't have, I don't know exactly what, the future of this one looks like. And if I do lose this one, I think I'm done with YouTube. But yeah, there was no explanation. I don't know exactly what I violated. I mean, I did exactly this. I just live streamed. I covered the cryptocurrency market. Not once was I paid to promote any project. Not once did I stole anyone else's content. Like, all my content are original because all my content are live streams. And what I do after I live stream, I do clip some of my videos and I post individual clips like this one. Like, this is a, BTC analysis that is specifically focused on Bitcoin. But this is from, my live stream, this one right here. So this is exactly what I do. My content are original. They're from me. I'm not stealing anyone's content. And previously, actually, I used to look into breaking news. I used to look into, what was going on in the cryptocurrency market. And I used to, share other people's content. This is like way early when I started YouTube. But I stopped doing that because, I just didn't want to be accused of stealing other people's content. So all my content are original. They all come from me. So to say that, I violated this harmful and dangerous content policy, like, I don't know exactly what YouTube is talking about. And that is extremely frustrating because no one gave me an explanation where at least, I know what I need to stay away from. So anyways, yeah, let's continue. For those of us who haven't heard, can you share with us your story about what? What do you want to know? The Gabby Jacob show. Yeah, I don't know what kind of story you want me to share with you. But anyways, yeah, YouTube, man. Just gotta do better. Anyways, follow me on X if you guys are interested in, more of my content. Let's talk about Jasmine, okay? Yo, Jasmine just had a big move. It's like all right, there we go. It's pulling back though. All right, Jasmine right here. So to me, Jasmine's push probably is over right here. Why do I think it's over? Well, I'm just basing it on, the fact that we have already retested a 21 weekly moving average. Now, it doesn't mean that this is exactly the top. Like, it doesn't mean this is exactly the top of this move. But to me, when I look back, price came back to the 21 weekly. That was basically the top of it. Price right here came back to the 21 weekly. That was basically the top of it. You go back to the last bear market, you basically kind of get the same, behavior over and over again. Here's a big one right here. This was actually bigger. This was like almost a 400% move. Yeah, this was a 358% pump. Hit the 21, got rejected, blah, 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 blah. So to me, if I'm looking at current Jasmy setup, I do think most likely this is coming to an end. Now, my outlook on Jasmy will absolutely change if we can get something that looks like this. If we can get something that looks like this, my outlook on this entire bearishness will absolutely change. But right now, to be very honest with you guys, like structurally wise, on the weekly, I don't see a reason to be bullish on Jasmy. Like I really don't. In the short term, all right, if I go down to the lower time, I could have said, hey, as long as we continue to look like this, price will go up. But I just don't see a reason to be bullish on the weekly. Like I do think this is going to take some time. If we were to get something like this, all right, if we were to get something like this, let's say we kind of consolidate on the weekly. Actually, no, let me get rid of this because that is way too far. If we were to get something like this, where price kind of consolidates on the weekly time frame, then right here, I would have a reason to start speculating on, hey, probably we are putting in a bottom, and this is the bottom process, all right, where price, despite still looking shaky, despite still looking bearish, something in the chart is actually telling a story, all right? We have a Jasmy that's not really going down. We have a Jasmy that's trying to break structures, because every time price comes up, what you're basically trying to do is break the structure. And every time price comes back down, what you're basically also trying to do is, if you are establishing a long-term uptrend, what you're basically trying to do is build a base. So this could be the base building right here. But to me, as long as we don't see this, honestly, I'm on the sideline. So this is exactly what we got in 2023. None of you guys, I don't want to say none of you guys, but if you were here in 2023, when I was talking about Jasmy, I became very bullish right here. At the time, I was looking at this and I was, very excited because finally, for the first time, guys, price was not going down on the weekly, and price started breaking up above the 21 weekly moving average. And then when we did get these retests, the 21 weekly started to act as a support. I became very bullish on Jasmy. Look, my accumulation was right here. Right now, to me, I wouldn't accumulate. Right? Not until I get a pullback, and then I see what that pullback looks like. So short-term wise, this was a really, really good trade. I think the top probably in around here. And even if you're not in, let's say we go up a little bit, I do think this is a major, major range where Jasmy gets rejected and then, we get a pullback. Look, chat, I tell you right now, we're going to retrace this entire move. We are going to retrace this entire move right here. And you are basically looking at a 40% drop coming. Give it some time. You are looking at a 40% drop. XCN, please. I already talked about XCN. You might have to go back and replay, the last, I think I spent a good 20 minutes on XCN. So, yeah, this to me looks a little shaky. Chat, let me share a trade with you guys. We'll see how this plays out over the next couple of weeks. MicroStrategy. Now, this is exactly what I'm talking about when I am looking for a bottom process. You can see MicroStrategy on the daily is in the bottom process right here. All right. MicroStrategy is not really going down, even though, all right, let's say today we close around, let's just say $168. On Friday, price may come back to, in the $150 range, in the low $160 range. Guys, the fact is we are ranging. All right. We are ranging right here, guys. You can see price is not really going down. This is a stock that has been going down since, I think, almost $400. So if you come to this daily right here, guys, and you go from here, $365. MicroStrategy has been going down in a straight line. All right, this is a 58% crash. Now, finally, for the first time, it's not really going down. it's actually going sideways. If you look at performance from the 24th of November, just last year, once we hit a 150, 156, all right, we had this move right here where price went up, and then we have this pullback right here. Now look at this, guys. Look at this right here, chat. Price is going up again. Now, this may go up like this, and then we get another pullback, and then we go higher, or we might push into the $190 range, and maybe we get another pullback. Like, I don't know exactly how this is going to play out, but what I do know is on the daily time frame, we have some bullish divergency. I talked about this plenty times in many of my recent streams. Yes, the price is consolidating, but pay attention on what's taking place on the daily. Price is going down, but the RSI is rising. The MACD is rising. That is what we call a bullish divergency. In terms of what MicroStrategy is more likely to do, in my opinion, is retest this 21 weekly moving average. Right now, the 21 weekly, you guys may get tired of me talking about the 21 weekly, but guys, look, I'm really, really trying to simplify this. The 21 weekly is exactly around $236. And guess what else is around $236? Guys, major resistance. So to me, I do think MicroStrategy, we are looking at a very big move. This is a 30% move. Bring price back in the $230 range, potentially higher. All right, I'm basically looking at, look, it wouldn't surprise me if we push between 230 and 280. Probably come back into right here. And then we put in a weekly lower high, and then this is the final boss right here, guys. And then we get something like this. Bang! Down to around $100. I do think we're coming down to around $100. Could we go lower? Probably. Probably we go lower. But anyways, let me go back. What MicroStrategy is doing right now, or is going to do, it's exactly what we did in the last bear market. It's right here. It is right here. A big pullback, come back to the 21 weekly, just right above the 21 weekly. And then this was the final boss right here, guys. So, in a way, I do think MicroStrategy can potentially bottom sometimes mid this year. Maybe sometimes June, July, we could potentially put in a bottom just right around $100, just right below $100. Hopefully YouTube reinstate my original channel. I mean, I am praying for that right now. Thank you so much. But anyways, yeah, guys, I think this is strategy right now. I think this is exactly what we are going to experience. So give us some time. And speaking of strategy, I am going to buy some puts once price comes back anywhere around here and try to ride it all the way down here, guys. If you think about strategy, we actually topped back in, we actually topped in November of 2024. This thing has actually been in the bear market for a while right now. Just like the last bear market, we actually topped way early. We topped in February 2021. And we were in the bear market for, over a year. So I do think that's exactly what is going on right now. Like, look, honestly, very similar setups right here, guys. Look, top, big drop, big rally. We thought we were going to continue up. That was a top. Came back down. Top, big pullback, big rally, pullback. We thought we were going to continue up. Top, bang. I mean, this thing is it's like a simulation. This is how crazy this is. Oh my God. Technical analysis. It's a beauty. So. What else do we... So altcoins, I mean, this is a trap. Zcash. I heard Zcash is experiencing I saw the news. Where's the news? The entire team of Zcash has resigned. That is crazy. Hopefully this is not true, but you know. But anyways, in terms of technical analysis, I do think there's a very, very good chance this is the top. This is a weekly lower high. And from here on, oh my gosh. Guys, in terms of support on the weekly, like we don't have any until you start looking at some old support, like maybe once you start getting towards like $215 all the way up to like, yeah, we're definitely losing $300. But yeah, Zcash doesn't really have anything until 215 all the way down here to $85. Like this is the range. I think this is where we are going to Zcash in the next 6 months. Give us some time, but to me, this looks likely. My first target would definitely be 215, or maybe let's just say 230. That would be my first target. But this range looks very, very likely. Yeah. If you're in Zcash, it might be time to get the hell out. Short term, yes, price may go up, but yeah, it's not looking good. And once again, guys, look, we talk about bear flags. Look at this right here. Is this a bear flag? Okay, even if it's not, if you think this is a different pattern, but this is not a bullish pattern. This is not what, if Zcash was bullish long term, we were supposed to look like. Look, this is already a breakdown. If we do get a rally, we're more likely to get rejected around 480, and then you end up with something like this. So to me, Zcash is definitely done. I will actually look. I'm happy to take a screenshot. Oh damn, I'm bringing it all the way down, all the way down to 0. But I'm happy to take a screenshot of this and. Yeah, I think 230 is definitely my target. On the weekly, we have a more clear range right here, guys. There we go. Zcash, get ready for $230. So I am more than happy to take this screenshot right here and post it. I am more than happy to do this. $230. Crazy times. So yeah, this is Zcash right here. Let's talk about other altcoins. XRP. Let me take a look at XRP. XRP has retested my 21 weekly. Yo, chances are XRP has already topped. We might go back there, though. I'm not saying that, from here on you just go all the way down. We might go back, maybe do like a double top or some sort of a rally. We might get something like this. And then, whoops, what am I doing? We might get something like this. Probably go back to like 230. Like, I don't know exactly how this is going to play out. Actually, look, I would take a trade right here. Not financial advice, but I would definitely take a trade right here. I don't know if I would. Maybe not, actually. This is an 8% move. Stop loss just right below. It's a 3% loss, 8%. Okay, this is not a bad trade. I would definitely take something like that. Yeah, I would absolutely. I would. If you go to this 1 hour, put a trend line. This is a clear breakout. This is a retest of this breakout. The 4 hour still looks very good to me. So long as price is above this $1.98, I think a very good chance we go up here. This trade will be very similar to taking a Jasmy trade right here. All right. So like with Jasmy on this 4 hour, as long as price is above 0.00679, you still have an uptrend. Now this could be a double top. Like this is already not looking good. This could be a double top, and this could be what's coming. So you can actually short Jasmy. I don't recommend it, but you can short it. Looking at 30% move. Stop loss just right above. So this is a short position. Once again, not financial advice. Because, you know, when something is bullish, you can get your head blown out, man. Shorting, let's say entry right here. Your stop, you might have to go. That's a big stop, man. You might have to go like this. And you are looking at profits right down here. That to me looks like a trade. Or you know what? You wait for this candle to close. And then you wait for the next one to close. And then you jump into the next one, and then you put your stop loss just right below this one right here. That could be another approach. Sui. Let me take a look at Sui. Sui, the 4 hour still looks good. The daily, a nice breakout right here. So I was targeting 225. Let me go to the weekly and see if we hit the weekly. We got very close to the 21 weekly, still around 221. So we might go up a little bit. Or if this is the end of it, then price will have to go below 166. If we go below 166, to me that means the top is in. But this to me looks good actually. If I go to the 1 hour, I think this looks good. I might have to break above this 186 and then up. Yeah, I wouldn't take a trade right here. If I do, stop loss will be right below 174. I think that's the appropriate place to put your stop loss. If you're jumping in right now, that means you're going after this 225 target. AVAX, I mean, this is the most. I think I'm done with AVAX. Maybe not, but I should be done with AVAX because what a disaster. Oh my God, man. What else? Some of the meme coins that recently pumped. Look, I think those meme coins are definitely done. If I'm looking at this one right here. Okay. Getting support right now, 38 cents. This looks good. As long as you hold 38 cents, you got a chance of going up again. Looking at daily, let me take a look at the 20. Yeah, this thing, I think this one is done. Definitely done. So this is why, recently, when I titled my altcoin update, my outlook was that, hey, I think we are very close to the top than many of you guys may actually think. Look, yeah, altcoins will top soon. Doesn't feel good when you say it, but it is what it is, man. For you guys who are new to my channel, if you are not really familiar, I'm not really interested in these short-term trades. Like my goal on the market, at least when it comes to the market, my approach is always to capture a weekly uptrend when the monthly is in an uptrend, of course. To me, I think that's where the biggest profits comes from. The daily, to me, is a waste of your time. Anything below the daily, 100% a waste of your time, unless you're day trading. I don't day trade. I'm a swing trader. Because I know once you catch a nice weekly trend, you could be, you can take vacation and come back 6 months out. Once you have a monthly uptrend, you can take vacation and come back 2-3 years out. These are long-term structures, the moves are very sustainable. You get some nasty pullbacks, but the trend is your friend. Like you don't have to do anything on a daily basis. So this is why, when you see me not really excited about this market, it's because I know what the weekly and monthly looks like. And when I look at the weekly and monthly of these altcoins, including BTC right now, chat, I know my mind is already thinking about 2027. All right, like, honestly, when I look at weekly and monthly of a bunch of these charts, like I'm not even thinking about 2026. Like I'm looking at, all right, let's hurry up. Let's be over with this because this is gonna take some time. I think this is what many of you guys don't. It's just not registering. I'm not talking about you guys that are watching specifically, but just in general, people they're not really registering what we have right here. If you think about, like you could have bought Nvidia, all right, based on the monthly setup. You could have bought Nvidia back in, this is early 2023, around $26. Now, of course, that was $260 pre-split, right? You could have bought a $26 and you could have gone on vacation. This is 2023. You come back in 2026 and nothing has changed in terms of this monthly bullish uptrend. Right? Like this is the beauty of capturing a long-term trend. All right. You could have bought BTC. Yo, chat, I remember when BTC was below $20,000 and we were starting to flip, the bearish structure. We were starting to establish a long-term bull. Like I remember how bullish I became. This is 2023. You could have bought BTC in March, February, January of 2023. And you could have gone on vacation. And you back right now at 91 and you missed 126. And you made profits. This is the beauty of long-term structures. All right. Right now, if I'm looking at BTC, I'm saying to myself, oh, we are breaking down long-term. Yo, I can go on vacation, come back 6 months, 12 months from now, and I don't miss anything. And I actually stay away from the drama. You stay away from, constantly looking at the price of Bitcoin, constantly trying to think what BTC is about to do in the next couple of days. You don't have to worry about any of that. Once you have a long-term trend that has been established. And this is why the more I look at Bitcoin, I am not excited now with a weekly that looks like this because I know once this thing breaks down, once we get rejected by this weekly time frame, this weekly 21 moving average, I mean, honestly, it is a long 2026, guys. Look, the last time we got rejected by the 21 weekly moving average, it was a long 2022. We ended up with a 67% crash. And that, my friends, was from March of 2022 until November of 2022. That was a long, long time. So I appreciate you people. Appreciate you. Hopefully you appreciate the live stream, the updates, the analysis, all that we covered today. There's nothing that I'm going to say to you that I haven't already talked about. We are going to keep our eyes on this market. We will probably do another stream tomorrow. If not tomorrow, we'll do over the weekend. I got to get ready to watch an incredible. If you guys don't watch soccer, I don't know what you are into, but we are about to watch a big soccer game in the next hour. I'm a huge Arsenal fan, and I think we are going to win the league because why wouldn't? You look at the standings, 48 points. We got 18 more games to go. The second place, I mean, these guys, they're just going through, I don't even know what's going on with them. This is a team that was supposed to be challenging us, but it looks like The only competition is themselves. They can't seem to score enough goals. They can't seem to win games. No, they do score enough goals. They just can't seem to, win games recently. So we win one. We go up 8 points clear. And I think I booked my ticket to go to London and watch Arsenal sometimes in probably April. The last time I was there, I thought we were going to win the league. But guess what? We absolutely screw up towards the end of the season. I am thinking about catching one of, not this one is going to be an away game, but I might be able to catch one of these games. I think this is a home game. Yeah, I might be able to catch this one. So that would be Arsenal against Newcastle, and that is in April. What date is that? If we win today, I think we have one hand on the trophy. So by the time we get to this game right here, probably it's over. But it's over for these guys by then. So I want to make sure I at least catch a game. The last time I was there, let me see. Did I even post anything? Anyways, doesn't even matter. All right, chat. Appreciate you guys, man. I will see you tomorrow. Peace out.